Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television. And we have two gentlemen to help make sense of this discussion. This morning we have Dr. Gani Oluwashola, FCTIE Managing Partner, KJB Professional Services. And he's here with us in the studio this morning. And also he will be playing the figure of a public affairs and analyst too. And joining us virtually we have Isiaka Badamosi, a public affairs analyst and SDG advocate. Good morning to you, Dr. Gani.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good to have you in today's show. Mr. Isiaka Badamosi, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Good to have you in today's show. We're looking at another ingest of 6.2 trillion naira in the 2024 budget. And the senator saying that this is very, very important to do it. In fact, it caused a little argument in the House where some people have the opinion that they need to take it easy. And some said, no, they need to work very hard to do it. One of the reasons being given is the issue of the minimum wage to avoid strike. There, some people were saying we need to, pass this bill fast so that there will not be breakdown or there will not be strike or industrial action in Nigeria. What do you make of us as Nigeria as a country running as it is 33.7 trillion naira as a budget for this year?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. First and foremost, good morning to our listeners and viewers out there. The federal government of Nigeria has an obligation and a duty to ensure that the economy of the country runs smoothly. It also has a duty and obligation to ensure that labor issues and labor union issues are not allowed to exacerbate to the extent that it starts to affect the economy of the country. Already we have companies and other productive outfits that are already leaving the country for one reason or the other. So I think it's a thing that the government ought to look at, because I expected that this ought to have been made, provision ought to have been made for this, especially the increment in workers' salary. Provision ought to have been made for it at the beginning of the year. But I think owing to the fact that the figure that is expected had not been reached, that's why that was not done then. And coming now, I think there's a need for us to expedite action on it. More so, there is the issue of food insecurity in this country. And I would not know what the details of that supplementary budget is. That's the recurrent and the recurrent expenditure would have to include the workers' pay. But the capital project part of it, if it has to do with food security in Nigeria and things that has to do with matter of insecurity, I think it's something that we need to take very seriously, and the Senate needs to see how to work assiduously to ensure that these funds are made available.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Isiaka, for that explanation. Now, Dr. Gani, Nigerians are passing through untold hardship, as the case may be. And then this present administration is yet to tell us how they've spent the 27.5 trillion naira we actually have as the budget. And we're having another 6.2 trillion naira now as a request from this present administration. Do you think this is actually, a step in the right direction?
For me, if you ask me, I'll say no. Well, when we talk even about budget simply means an estimated income and expenditure. This is what this is what was spent last year, and for this year we assume this is what should be spent, factoring in inflations and devaluation of our currency, that vis-a-vis, we should not exceed it. It's a budget, right? So budget can either be over, it can either be over budgeted, right? And we have one that is under budgeted. So in the long run, there's what we call actual. So actual take into consideration the variance between what we budgeted for and what we actually spent, right? And do not forget, even in the budget, we also have deficit budgets, right? And also the government also have the capacity, also have the provision to submit the supplementary budget in case there are other things that come in. But when you look at it vis-a-vis what has been happening in the country, we are just half of the year. And this is the budget. This is one of the highest budgets in Nigeria history. And in this budget, we said subsidy is gone, and we still have so much budget, so much planning, so much expectation to be able to meet up with. And in this itself, we also spent so much. It was on record, Showore say it, that they have purchased the presidential jet that worth over $100 million. $100 million. Not only that, they also have they more provision for $50 million to be able to for customization. $150 million for what?
Now, it's interesting you did mention this, and sorry to cut your line of thought. There is also, just like my colleague did mention, the fact that this same present administration has not come out to tell Nigerians how they spent the previous budget. I mean, it's a law that they are supposed to have upheld, and of course, the responsibility is upon them to give it out to Nigerians. They've not done that. There is also the part of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. The Senate has asked for a suspension of that project from continuing. In other words, it has started. Was the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway inside the budget? And if yes, who did sign the budget? Some quarters have said that this present Senate did not look through the budget. Are you sharing that particular opinion with those quarters? And then again, how can government balance the need for increased spending as regards fiscal responsibility?
Okay, brilliant. You see, at the beginning now, when you look at it, what is happening, then you say that what is the present communication and the strength of the president economic team, right? These are the people that should advise him appropriately. You talk about the coastal highway, and do not forget they said that there was an itch there, that because they failed to make some projection and they lost over 1 trillion naira has been a waste, and nobody is accounting for that. This is taxpayer money in this hard time that you force it, you ensure that the taxpayer, they pay their necessary due, and a whole 1 trillion was wasted, and no deterrent, nobody was held responsible. It's as if nothing has happened, right? And then we also move ahead and say that, the presidential flight is risky, and we spend over, if you convert that to Nigerian currency, you know how much of quadrillion is going to be? $150 million to be able to incur presidential jet, right? And we are not, and when you look at a country, right, that's why I said that the economic team of the president must be able to look into this. That they are there to be able to advise him appropriately. There was a time, Mr. Wale Adok says, he said, with what I've seen, and with the level of our borrowing, we will no longer borrow, because it is inimical to our to the growth of the economy. And now we see ourselves still borrowing. Then the question is that this money we are talking about, is it that there is a jumbo? Is it that there's an overflow in our revenue? Do we have more assets? The question is that what are we using to fund it? We are using borrowing to fund our excessive lifestyle. It's just as if we are grounded. It's like as if the economy, the country itself, is sitting on a gunpowder which is ready to be exploded. Because as we speak now, before now, there's so much, our indebtedness is so much now, and we are not even talking about the principal. We are talking about financing what we are borrowing. Financing what we are borrowing, even the revenue we make, it's not enough to finance what we are borrowing. In other words, let's assume that we make 100 naira revenue and we are financing our budget, our debt with 95 naira. What is left is 5 naira, which is not enough. And on top with it, we are still incurring more debt. And show me a country or a nation or a jurisdiction that is spending so much on recurrent expenditure and not on capital project. I will tell you a country that is not going to stand the test of time. Out of even this supplementary budget bringing in, 3.2 is on recurrent expenditure. Which nation does that? Which economy does that? Because when you are, it's just like Once you get more money, you invested your money. It's just like you, after savings all through your lifestyle, you now collected the money to go and buy an SUV. Right, that becomes an expense. That becomes also a liability to you. You are not incurring. You are not planting a capital project, creating employment opportunity. We are not restructuring our country. And when you now talk about this now, we look at a lot of people are losing their job because the sixth multinational company has left the shop Nigeria. Right, even the one in Songwater now has left the shop, and you see when you see people that are not taking responsibility, you now come up and say that, oh, let them go. It's giving an avenue for our local industry to be able to showcase themselves. Is the local industry are not there before? Are they paying as much as these people are paying? Are they employing so much people? So these are the things. We should not cover our laxity and our shortcoming by making a statement that is not worthwhile. And we see our inflation is gradually approaching 40, which is the highest.
Our food inflation is already on 40.1%.
No,
headline
in theory,
is now
in
33,
reality, the Manufacturing Association says that it's around 94%.
Oh, yes,
right?
I saw that
But what we
yesterday
have
as well.
now for them, it says, according to what the budget dropped, they said our headline inflation now is at 34.19%. Now, Mr. Ishak, you made mention of the multinationals exiting Nigeria. We have a report that says 94 trillion naira is what Nigerians have lost in 5 years over the exit of multinationals in Nigeria. And here we also have this present administration talking about additional 6.2 trillion naira into the 27.5 trillion naira 2024 budget. With our present economic situation, how are we even going to get this money? Is Nigeria economy going to survive working with this 33.7 trillion naira, looking at the way things are?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, let me make this point very clear. One of the fundamental problems of this country, as it is today, is a revenue problem, is a revenue issue. A revenue issue in the sense that most of the states and local governments are not viable. Most of them cannot sustain themselves, cannot manage their salaries and manage their projects and expenditure portfolio. So one of the things that I would expect any government to do is to look at how do you get revenue. Now, whether we look at, is he talking about whether we borrow excessively or not? I would look at the problem of, do we even have enough fund to take care of the basics? Now, this borrowing that we're talking about here, in the first instance, we are talking about workers' salary. Now, you must put labor in such a situation that we don't have strikes on our hands. If today the government prolongs this labor salary increment thing, which has been prolonged since last year, because this has been envisaged since last year, January, it went on to February, then May Day, and May Day we did not see anything until now. That will continue to put pressure on the economy of the country. That will continue to put pressure on even foreign investors who wants to come to Nigeria to say, no, there's labor unrest here, there's no way we can come in here. Contributing more to the flight of other investors, and then creating what you call it now, unemployment around the country. Now, so I think government needs to nip this in the bud before it becomes an issue of its own. Then coming to the issue of the money we are borrowing, or maybe the capital flight that has resulted that has come as a result of the companies leaving the country. Now, you see, these are things that are not far-fetched for me, because in an economy where energy is a problem, where you don't have a good supply of energy, where the ease of doing business is a challenge, there's always a tendency for cost of production to be on the high side. And when the cost of production has gone through the roofs, there is no way companies will make profit. And I can tell you that all of us are in this country, we have witnessed the kind of inflation, we have witnessed the kind of the fall in the value of our currency in the past 1 year, 1.5 years. That is much more than whatever we have seen before, maybe in the past 2-3 decades. So if the value of our currency has dropped so badly, and then the value of the naira has also dropped, and we have all of this barrage of problems all over the place, what we ought to be doing is, how do we reflate this economy? Because one of the things you can do to sustain any economy is to see how you put money into the economy so that people would have money to spend, and you can also look at the possibility of making foods available such that the cost of price of food will drop, and that will ease a lot of tension on the populace. You also have a situation whereby if you are able to sustain labor agitation and make sure that it is kept within limits, and at least there's no agitation as much as possible, then you have a stable environment where more investors will come in and want to seek to invest in such an economy. I think that is the point at which we are now.
All right, then. I would like to stay with you, Mr. Isiaka Badamosi. I'd like to stay with you on this one now. You've talked extensively on government trying to cushion the effects of a possible labor unrest, labor strike, or labor instigated strike, as not allowing the economy to degenerate further. And then we're talking about borrowing. Some of these monies that Nigeria's government has been spending are borrowed funds. In the papers today, there was the headline of $751 million World Bank loan. When I saw that one, what came to mind is another World Bank loan. We also do know that very recently, last month actually, the National Assembly approved the extension of the 2023 appropriation bill. It was extended. The 2023 budget was extended. And now, some analysts, some individuals, some concerned Nigerians have come out to say, as it stands, Nigeria is running 4 budgets as it stands. Yes, trying to cushion, a possible strike, we've seen government, and I would like to speak to this. We've seen government distribute rice. We've seen government distribute truckload of rice to Nigerians. Do you think that will cushion the effect? We've seen a situation whereby, if borrowing is going to be the way to handle the economy so there is no breakdown of law and order by labor organizations, will that be sustainable?
Okay, thank you very much. Talking about the issue of sustainability, in the first instance, I think we must address the fact of where we are today. For me, I think Nigeria at this point in time is at a very critical situation. We have a very serious problem of hunger in our hands today. I know for a fact that most Nigerians can hardly have a day meal. Most Nigerians. And the situation today has gone so worse that the value of the naira that most Nigerians earn today cannot afford what they used to afford about 12 months back. No, so based on that fact, I think whatever government is able to do to cushion the immediate problems. Now, take, for example, the issue of the government coming out to say we have a 150 days period within which there will be no tax on food items. I think that is the way to go. And I want to see that translate into the price of food falling in the market. I want to see that translate to some kind of stability in the economy and some kind of cushioning the effect of hunger amongst our people.
Where does that leave our local production if we open the borders just to bring in food, knowing that we have millions of arable lands in Nigeria and we have farmers who are willing to farm? Where does that leave the production in Nigeria?
I agree with you. I agree with you, but you also agree with me on the fact that as it is today, the arable land we have, the millions of farmers we have are not able to meet up with the demands we are having right now. And that is a fact. And if we are saying that we should shut down our borders and wait until our farmers produce, then we are going to be shooting ourselves in the foot. Besides that, we have the issue of...
This fact you just mentioned is hinged on the fact that insecurity is at the highest rise. And let's not also forget that Nigeria presently, as we speak, imports pepper and tomatoes from Cameroon. So if the government is not talking up to the part of insecurity, why then should we hold this fact that the farmers are not, able to feed Nigerians, which is almost impossible? Can you speak to that as well?
The issue of insecurity for me is a fundamental issue, is the pivotal issue in the problem of food insecurity in Nigeria. And if we are able to deal with making the interland secure, take for example, if you go down south, the southwestern part of this country, you have people who want to go to the farms, but you have herders all over the place who are attacking them here and there. Now, if that problem is to be solved, we need to have a military or an intelligence agency or agencies that must be on top of their game. Now, for me, to the extent that I've seen and watching things over time, I would want to say that the security operatives are doing what they could do as it is today. But for me, I don't think they are doing as much as I would have expected them to do. Right. I expect that they will do more, because if they're able to do more, then they'll be able to secure these interlands and they'll be able to get our farmers to farm more. But in the immediate, we need to have a situation that is a solution that is much more drastic, that is going to bring food to Nigerians and make it affordable and available. If we don't do that, in the next 1 or 2 months, I pray we don't have an EndSARS or even a bigger one on our hands.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Let's bring it to the studio now. Doctor, now, do you agree to the fact that opening up the borders, bringing in food, grains, some would say that will make Nigeria a dumping ground for maybe some substandard sort of grains coming into the country? Do you? And then we are seeing governments share fertilizers and grains as well. Do you think that method or that sort of economy will help Nigeria come out of the quagmire that it's in right now when it comes to food inflation and the availability of food, actually?
Brilliant question. But the question, what you should say that, you should know is that he that is on the fall does not fear to fall, right? So he that being a dumping, fear no fall. So dumping ground or not does not make a difference, right? An hungry man.
If we are talking the health of Nigerians.
The health of Nigeria, that is what we now say that what is the activities and operation of the standard organization of Nigeria. Because for anything to be able to move through our border, they should be able to check the standard, the quality, and the value is going to put. Because as we speak, there was a time they want to move. There's one product that they're moving, a drink. Indeed, that I don't want to mention the name of the brand to the UK. And the UK, though they have a brand in the UK, the same brand, they said, no, we will not tolerate this one coming from Nigeria because it is inimical to their heads there. And the same brand is there in the UK, the same company. So the same thing is that this is what our standard organization, we do to be able to check the strength and also the health-wise. It's not that what is already useless for them, they're bringing it to Nigeria that is inimical to our health. And what they should also, when you look at the food inflation we also have, it's not even about that we don't have some quantum of that food. We just have the transportation issue. This basket of tomato we are talking about, they said it's just 20,000. Just between Jos and Nigeria, logistic.
Jos and Lagos.
Yeah, between Jos and Lagos, just logistic issue and transportation, perhaps also the security menace. That is what increased. It will now take 100,000 for a basket of tomato between Jos and to Lagos. So that is it. It's not even about opening a border per se. Even if you open the border, and yes, we say that, most of the ports we have is Lagos. So, and there's security apparatus in Lagos is good. So it will make the product more available in the southwest. Because where we are feeling the heat more is the southwest, right? And so once it's coming, it gets to the southwest, and so it's easier. So before it now moves to the north side, then it becomes costly over there. So the essence is, that's why I say that our economic team, the economic team of the president must also look at it in its holistic way, right? And say that what is the gap there? Why are we having this? What are the challenges? So we see how we can bring about a solution to it.
From what you just said now,
okay, go ahead.
you're of the opinion that the policies of this administration now is not really what it should look like. Because today on the front page of the National Dailies, one of them says that the telecoms are having issues from the hard-hit policies of the government, which is also leading to the shrinking of even our gadgets. Importation of gadgets and how we also use it. Just, I think yesterday or thereabouts, we had that Total Energy sell their Nigerian onshore oil asset to Mauritanian company. And these are the people that have 40% of our LNG production. Now, are you in line that that the policy of this present administration is not really helping out with the challenges we're having in Nigeria as it stands now?
You see, that's a good one. But when you look at it, it's not even about the policy. What we have is the implementation and the political will, right? We can come with a beautiful and a brilliant policy, but do we have the political will for the implementation? Do we have the political will to use people, to give consequences to people that flout the policy, to use some people as a deterrent, right? It's not even about the policy, right? When we look at how are the policy being executed, right? When you look at it now, Benue should have been our food basket. As we speak now, most of the farmers are not able to go to farm in Benue. They're already in the IDP camp.
They're paying tax of 20 million.
And there's this what they call, what was his name?
Full fire.
Right? Taking over a state where we have a country that has a sovereignty, that we now have a sovereignty under a sovereignty. So these are the things we need to look. It's not calling people importing food. How do we deal with this muster so that it will not become something too big for us? And do not forget, once you live in the glass house, you must be careful in throwing stone. You might be in that exotic seat now. One day, you will move away from there. You will come to the populace. The only thing that will save you is that once you hand over power, you do like one of these East or Southeast government that now relocated to US. So and there's no how you can compare home like abroad, right? So you are still coming to meet with the people that you fail to secure them or to protect them apparently, or to ensure that the security apparatus is well guarded.
It's interesting you mentioned the fact that they will still come back and meet with the people. And, well, you also did say some few minutes ago that the economic team of the presidency should give the president good advice. Now, the question would be, are they really giving the advices? Or is the advices being given taken by the present administration? Now, let's not also forget that some persons have been vocal about the fact that the presidency have assigned and, of course, appointed ministers that are not worthy to be ministers. I'm talking about the case of the Senate chief whip that was sacked yesterday, Alain Dume. Right now, as it stands, he is no more the chief whip. Is there some level of gagging of people who talk the truth to this presidency? Because this relatively is what is showing us.
You will, in the school of psychology, right, he that pays the piper dictates the tune, right? So when you look at it, that you belong, even you belong to my party.
I have a bit of a problem with that analogy because these are elected officials, aren't they?
Elected in, so who are the principle that helps them to come to power? Okay, do not forget, during the time when they have the brouhaha between the current president and the past president before he became president, when they asked an agitation of him coming to power, and he went to Ogun State here, and he was talking on the TV, and he was talking to the sitting governor, and saying that they were tearing your poster, we were the one. So are you? So you could say that you have no choice than to be loyal to me. So when we talk about loyalty, then the question is that it's two schools of thought. One school of thought was saying that Alain Dume was or was being angered when the policy of moving of CBN out of Abuja to Lagos affected his daughter. That was what spurred his anger. Why is he not speaking before now? Another school of thought says that, oh, it has been in, because in different regime, he has been facing those kind of backlash, right? So these are the things we should, but the question is just about, it's not about what Alain Dume is that. It's not about being human to ourselves. Look at what, we should take an example of what is happening in Kenya for now. People will not be like this forever. One day, people will stand up and see. You see now, the president has no choice to disband all his ministers.
And there's still, protests going on.
There's still protests going on because these people say that even if you are going to, it's because you have people. That's why you can call yourself a president. So if nobody is there, so until our leaders, we need to take an example. This is an African country. We need to sit and think wise and say that, oh, these people cannot be like this forever. Let's see how we are going to use democracy to better their life.
We are absolutely out of time, but I would like to get Isiaka's view on a certain. Okay, well, I'd like to get his view on this one as we conclude this topic. Now, we do know Nigeria has applied for another World Bank loan. One would say one too many. Well, some would say the loans are needed, but then we look at the repayment plan. Some of them are not. Some of them will have 10-year span before they start to accrue, but then they might be repaid for another 40 years, which of course would leave Nigeria in doldrums. But then the International Monetary Fund initially graded or rated Nigeria's growth, GDP growth, to about 3.3% or 3.33%, but that has been downgraded to about 3.1% because they have estimated that the current economy, the current situation of things in the country is not enough to spur growth in the economy. What do you say to that, please? In about a minute.
Okay, I didn't get the last part of the question. You said what is not enough to ignite the growth?
The current state of the agricultural sector in Nigeria and economy in general.
Yes, I want to agree with the downgrading of the estimated GDP of Nigeria, because anybody who understands how the economy of the world works will understand that as it is today, the Nigerian economy is suffering a slowdown, and it's only right for us to look at how do we expand this economy and make it work faster. Now, we've talked about the issue of insecurity. We've talked about the issue of food insecurity. We've talked about so many things. And now, for me, it's a very huge thing. And government must look at where are the critical areas that we could intervene in the immediate and then solve some immediate problems. And I see that in maybe the 150 days window that has just been given. And I want to see, I hope we'll see some very tangible effect of that very soon. I see that in some of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court over local government, so that we have a functional local government, which at least will make things trickle down to those who are supposed to get it.
Okay.
And so much more of such would help to build the economy and build the momentum for us to move forward with our economy.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Now let's move away from this topic. We'll come back to it in a later date. Now let's talk about something that puts smiles on the faces of Nigerians. When Nigerians heard that the visa ban by the United Arab Emirates on Nigerians had been lifted, there was a lot of joy on the faces of Nigerians, but that joy was cut short by another publication that said for Nigerians to apply for UAE visa, they needed about 640,000 naira non-refundable and then a $10,000 bank deposit. Well, that has been refuted though. But now Nigerians are in a state of confusion. Let's talk about this one when we come back.